Euromaxx highlights. And here's your host, Karin Helmstedt.
Hi there and welcome to our Highlights edition, which this time around happens to include the following top stories. Pomp and pageantry. Why the Venice Carnival is one of Europe's biggest draws. Perfect Productions, 3D printers may soon be changing the way we build. And life on a lake, the area around Lake Constance offers something for everyone. Well, it's Carnival all over Europe right now, but nowhere does it have the stately elegance that it has in Venice, Italy. Now, historically, this is a time to be letting down your hair and partying like there's no tomorrow, all the while conserving your identity, and hence the incredible culture of masks and wigs. Well, if ever there was a time to be shelling out some real money for the proper costume, this is it. So we went to see what true opulence really means.
Even when the sun isn't shining, as in the first week this year, Carnival season in the lagoon city is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. This genre of carnival is less about parades and floats and more about masks and masquerades. It seems everyone has a costume, from the historical to the otherworldly, in keeping with this year's motto, La Natura Fantastica.
We represent the seasons, primarily autumn.
We made all our costumes ourselves. Authentic Venetian craftsmanship.
The atmosphere is amazing. Everybody is so happy. It's beautiful.
We meet Venice's most famous son, Casanova. In this case, Stefano Comesi. The Italian waiter also made his own outfit, although he did borrow the period wig from Michele Edoardo's salon, which is the place to come for a very special makeover. The owner can also conjure up the perfect powdering to go with your wig of choice. In our friend Casanova's case, the hairdresser needs an hour to complete the coiffure.
The costume is incomplete without the right wig. The makeup and wig are the little details that make the outfit special.
These marvelous manes can take 10 hours to make. Most of the wigs are made of natural fibers, making them easier to adapt to the wearer's head.
I consider wigs to be works of art. They're unique items. I never make the same one twice. Plus, I hate parting company with my creations. I prefer to hire them out.
His rent-a-wigs cost 50 euros a day and more. The original 18th century Casanova was a man of many talents, a writer and adventurer, not least on the romantic front. Stefano Comesi seems to be attracting the ladies today, too. He's a big lover himself of Carnival.
Magic, elegance, and a lot of fun.
The Carnival di Venezia was born in the late 11th century and arguably enjoyed its heyday in Casanova's time. The masks helped Venetians to take to the public stage incognito and communicate across class barriers.
The carnival goes on for several days, so you have to pace yourself. It's quite demanding to have to please everybody. I think that's enough for today.
It's worth saving that energy for later in the day, for a masked ball in a classic Venetian palazzo. With a full evening of food and entertainment costing 450 euros, it's also worth dressing up for in style.
I can do what I want here. I've got a mask on and you can't see my face. I like it. This evening was an anniversary present from our children.
And we're loving it.
Everything is perfect.
Yes.
Everything is perfect.
This very palace was apparently a favorite haunt of Casanova himself while out on his amorous pursuits. The traditional customs and ceremonies add to the authentic feeling. Michele Edoardo's salon is not short of visitors either. He still has a week to go, hiring out his hairy creations for parties.
Carnival in Venice is always an escape from everyday life. A dream that becomes a reality for a short time. You can go to balls and dive into another world, which many people seem to need.
This year's carnival is once more expected to quadruple the city's population, with Venice becoming a center of posing, preening, and partying.
Well, there's a lot of buzz once again around 3D printing in recent months, and just what those machines can actually do seems to be getting crazier and crazier by the minute. And if just 2 weeks ago we were reporting that you can print your own food, well, there are two architects in Switzerland who say we soon may be able to print ourselves a house.
This column has come out of the printer, and it's part of a 16 square meter room. More than 2.5 meters high, it weighs 11 tons and is the latest innovation in the world of architecture. It's made of artificial sandstone, and it has ornamentation reminiscent of a Gothic cathedral. Michael Hansmeier and Benjamin Dillenburger from the Technical University in Zurich are the brains behind the creation, which they call the digital grotesque.
We've seen it in the past, in the pre-modern days, that architecture was created with an incredible level of detail. If you look at Baroque churches, if you look at the Rococo, and so on. But it took an incredible amount of time. It took artisans years and years and years to create something like this.
They completed their room in just a few months, using an algorithm to calculate every angle and curve and to create shapes that possibly couldn't be done by hand. The 3D printer is indeed breaking new boundaries.
Precision often presents limitations, but using this technique means we no longer face restrictions in terms of geometry.
Using the 3D printer, it takes just 2 days to apply the layers of fine sand. They are then stuck to the artificial stone. Once it has set, any excess sand is removed from the mold and can be reused. The team has assembled the component parts to make a solid walk-in room.
Each part can be highly individual at no extra cost. So it can be highly adapted to local requirements, to local tastes, to local preferences. In the past, you've been able to do that, but it's been incredibly expensive.
Architects in Amsterdam are going a step further. On March 1st, they will begin the construction of the first printed building. It's a canal-side house made of plastic. A specially designed machine will print the component parts on site, and they will then be assembled in much the same way as a toy house.
3D printing, that's like speed and materials. At the moment, with the pace of growth in the megacities, the current construction techniques is not sufficient enough. And maybe that's why we also believe that 3D printing can actually make a big difference in 5, 10, 20 years' time.
Other European architects are also developing concepts for printed houses. The Amsterdam-based company Universe Architecture is planning what it calls a landscape house from artificial sandstone. Foster and partner are working with the European Space Agency to create a moon base that would be printed on site using moon sand. The London company Softkill Design has an equally innovative project. The structure of their building imitates bone growth.
What it means for architecture is that we no longer have to think in terms of standardized or two-dimensional elements. Glass walls and facade panels are already features of modern architecture. But what we have here is a return to three-dimensional, more complex components, which are not merely designed to serve a functional purpose.
The new technology paves the way for more playful shapes, as in the case of the digital grotesque. Michael Hansmeier and Benjamin Dillenburger are currently continuing work on their room, adding even more details. They want to prove that decorative facades or walls do not have to cost a fortune.
for a long time has been a luxury. If you think back over the past hundreds or thousands of years, ornament has been something, at least three-dimensional ornament, for kings, for queens, and has always involved lots of people slaving away, or at least working very intensely, over years and years and years and years. Now it's become not more democratic, but definitely more accessible.
To date, the artificial sandstone is not strong enough to withstand wind and weather, but the architects are convinced it's only a matter of time before it will be. And when it does, people will be able to live however they wish.
Well, it used to be that many a North American worried about sticking out like a sore thumb in Paris because of their footwear of choice. Usually a comfortable pair of trainers or runners chosen to survive the sheer arduousness of being a tourist in that city. But those days seem to be over, and as sneakers, designer sneakers even, conquer the catwalks, we hit Fashion Week to see these runaway collections.
A new trend has been spotted sneaking into Paris fashion shows. Sneakers. Seen in every conceivable combination, sneakers are finally in with the international fashion crowd.
They got very popular. For example, businesswomen, they're wearing like super elegant or like just working outfits, and they just take off sneakers because it's comfortable. So I like that the function and the appearance and the style is like emerged, and it's more fun to wear like a colorful sneakers and wear something very like elegant or like chic.
Sportswear meets chic. At Chanel's latest haute couture show, sneakers replaced the high heels beneath the evening gowns. Fashion journalist Markus Ebner was at the show, which some called a sensation.
When der ultimative street look
When the ultimate street look has arrived on the catwalk, something marvelous has happened. It was also good for haute couture, which is all too often rather heavy. And here you will reach the high heel wearers who think to themselves, I could wear this around town or to work, especially when it's Chanel. Then it's somehow been blessed.
In custom-made, glitter-covered sneakers, fashioned from lace, tweed, or snakeskin, Chanel's models daintily skip down the steps. The celebrity guests also enjoy the new freedom of movement.
The trainers with the dresses, which I'm sure was a little nod to me.
Good to run in. Who knew that you could run in couture? Karl Lagerfeld knew that.
Exclusive haute couture sneakers are the latest thing with competitor Dior as well. Creative director Raf Simons has created his own line. He's already done tennis shoes in cooperation with sportswear maker Adidas.
Ich bin mir auch relativ sicher,
I'm fairly certain that Raf Simons' collaboration with Adidas for his own label is what inspired him to think about sneakers for Dior's haute couture. If you've ever been to Adidas in Herzogenaurach and seen a bit in the factory there and given the subject some thought, you wouldn't be surprised, and I wasn't, to see those haute couture sneakers on the Dior catwalk.
In the trend-setting Paris boutique Colette, sneakers are among the hottest-selling items these winter days. Here, fashion-conscious shoppers can find original designs with skull and crossbones, comic or tennis ball motifs, alongside the latest designer models by Pierre Hardy and Valentino. This pair can be had for €490.
30 years ago, sneakers were still meant for sports, and the focus was on helping the wearer achieve the best possible performance. Today it's different. The sneaker has become a lifestyle product for everyday wear, and the demands on it have changed. Primarily, our customers are looking at how a shoe is designed and what kind of look it's got.
Sneakers are also the latest in footwear for the man about town, and in the recent men's fashion shows in Paris by Yohji Yamamoto, Valentino, and Louis Vuitton. Fashion is indeed getting sportier. And sportswear more fashionable. This season's models by Nike have a glittery finish and raised heels, very much in line with the sneaker wedges, as they're called, designed a few years ago by Isabelle Marant.
Das war eigentlich die große Revolution.
That was actually the real revolution. When does the first sneaker on heels show up? And what would a sneaker on heels look like? This Isabelle Marant sneaker is probably the most frequently copied sneaker there is.
Adidas has just brought out its vintage Stan Smith model with wedge heels added. Its competitor Nike has revived classics like the Air Max and the Blazer and seen them turn into bestsellers. And shoe buyers even like to customize their models. Topping off the trend are several special editions, such as the fur version for the Chinese Year of the Horse. The pair runs about €140, relatively affordable for haute couture models right off the catwalk.
Well, when it comes to things like hypnosis, many people tend to write it off as just a lot of hocus pocus. But even many who are skeptical about the technique can turn to jelly when they're faced with Jan Becker. Now, he's Germany's most famous hypnotist, and he claims that it has nothing at all to do with smoke and mirrors, but rather with his incredible powers of suggestion. And he's incredibly happy to demonstrate, as we see with this audience in Berlin.
Jan Becker calls himself a miracle worker, and tonight he really wants to enchant his Berlin audience.
Did you choose the number 5?
It looks like Becker can read his audience's minds. He hypnotizes several of the 400 spectators.
And sleep.
Like here, a perfect example of the power of suggestion. Someone from the audience feels his pulse, while Jan Becker supposedly stops his heart beating momentarily.
16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 20.
Did it really happen? What is the power of suggestion? I've always been driven by these questions, and how can I create surrealistic moments on stage? How can I make you dream and put you in another world? That's my passion. And sleep. You're totally relaxed.
Jan Becker wants to show what hypnosis can achieve. Not everyone can be hypnotized. You have to be open and willing. Like these 7 members of the audience. Becker puts them in a trance in which they can't seem to remember their own names.
Bettina, please tell us your name. It's all in the power of suggestion.
I can't even say whether I forgot my name or not. I just couldn't make it cross my lips. He even revealed it to me. He said, Bettina, tell us your name. I simply couldn't say it. It was crazy. It was crazy.
For about 25 years, Jan Becker has also been experimenting with extrasensory perception. Along with his stage performances, he writes books, holds seminars, and advises leaders in the cultural and business fields. He says observing people on the street is how he learns the most about the dynamics of the human psyche.
The ability I have in dealing with people, a feeling for people, and opening myself and focusing my whole interest on the person I interact with. I don't have any extrasensory abilities, I have sensory abilities.
Research on hypnosis and mind reading began in the 18th century. Becker's first contact with these things was from what he read in old books. Today, hypnosis is a scientifically proven treatment used in medicine and psychotherapy. But some still consider it hocus pocus. So we had Becker hypnotize our Euromaxx colleague, Simin Javabre.
When you sense this, close your eyes and sleep. Relax entirely. Sink deeper and deeper into this wonderful state of complete relaxation.
He wants her to forget all about the number 4 for a while.
And now we start here again with 1.
1, 2, 3, 5, 6.
And now we start again with 1.
1, 2, 3, 5, 6.
How much is 6 plus 6?
12?
It's a process in which you concentrate on one thing and forget everything else. That's hypnosis. There's no transmission of psychic rays, no other state we've never experienced before. Instead, it's about absolute focus and concentration on a single thing.
Back on stage, Jan Becker is attempting to read minds. Blindfolded, he guesses what object a spectator has brought. And he's right, a cell phone.
Ja? Gut, dann Applaus. Bringst du bitte den Gegenstand wieder zurück? Dankeschön.
He says her thoughts are expressed in the tiny movements of her muscles, and he can read them. In the show's most spectacular stunt, Jan Becker detects the position of a balloon placed at random in the room. He claims he uses only his telepathy to do it. And things really end with a bang.
And we'll finish off now with a visit to Lake Constance, which is the third largest lake in Europe, in Central Europe. It has shorelines actually in 3 different countries, Austria, Switzerland and Germany. And of course, because the Alps are right next door, it is an idyllic place to spend a holiday with seemingly a million things to do, including enjoying the surroundings from above.
Viewed from above, some parts of Lake Constance look more like a river. The lake has a surface area of 536 square kilometers. The borders of Germany, Austria, and Switzerland meet here. German photographer Achim Mende travels all over the world to capture images of landscapes. But Lake Constance has been his chosen home and favorite motif for the past 11 years. He has shot tens of thousands of photos in this region and published them in coffee table books and periodicals.
For me, Lake Constance is the ideal habitat. It's a great landscape and cultural space. For me as a photographer, it's paradise, not just because I find motifs everywhere, whether it's a Baroque church in Birnau, or the view over the lake, or the alpenglow in the evening. The light simply changes at every time of year and every time of day. I can't see enough of it.
The St. Nicholas Church in Friedrichshafen is one of the city's main landmarks. This German city is the second largest on Lake Constance's shores. About 58,000 people live here. Not to be missed is the former harbor train station, the first train station on the lake's shore. The Zeppelin Museum has been housed here since 1996. The world's largest collection of materials on airships shows the technical details and history of Zeppelins. The airships were named for their builder, Count Ferdinand Zeppelin. At the beginning of the 20th century, he brought the production site to Friedrichshafen. A partial reconstruction of the LZ-129 Hindenburg shows what traveling in a Zeppelin was like.
Friedrichshafen is certainly the city of Zeppelins. This is where most of the world's famous airships were built, and it's where the myth lives on today, along with the industrial development that Count von Zeppelin launched back then, and that is still in effect today.
Back to the shore of Lake Constance, which is best explored by boat. This ferry, for example, plies back and forth between the German cities of Meersburg and Constance. Lake Constance is also a popular destination for water sports fans, especially in the summer. But active vacationers will also find plenty to do here in the winter. For example, stand-up paddling, which involves standing on a surfboard. The Polynesian sport can be practiced year-round on the rather placid Lake Constance. Stand-up paddling is relatively easy to learn, and it's supposed to be good for you.
It strengthens the back muscles in particular. These twisting motions and this pushing motion strengthen the muscles around the spine, muscles you don't otherwise use. Many people today sit all day in the office.
Remnants of ancient settlements can be found all around the lake. It looks like a lakeshore view was appreciated even thousands of years ago. Reconstructions at the Lake Dwelling Museum in Unteroldingen show what these homes on stilts may have looked like. In 2011, UNESCO declared these buildings a World Cultural Heritage Site. Some saunas at the Meersburg Hot Springs are also on stilts, just a few kilometers from the open-air archaeological museum. In winter, this is the perfect place to recharge your batteries. After sweating, you take the plunge into water measuring 4 degrees Celsius.
You can't see enough of it. You never get sick of it.
I love Lake Constance because you can really use it, and also it's simply a stunning view.
A trip to Lake Constance pays off any time of the year.
And that's all for this time. So until we meet again, all the best from us here in Berlin. And thanks for watching. Tschüss und auf Wiedersehen.